December 20th, 1968. A quiet lover's lane in Vallejo, California, two teenagers in a parked car listening to the radio on a cold winter night. A car pulled up beside them. A figure stepped out. Minutes later, both would be shot, one would die, and a killer who would terrorize California for years had just begun. Visual, flashlight beam, gunshots, darkness. America in 1968, the Beatles on the radio. The summer of love barely over. The San Francisco Bay Area seemed safe, peaceful, but on the outskirts of Vallejo, on a remote stretch of road near Lake Herman, something evil was waiting. David Faraday, 17. Betty Lou Jensen, 16, high school sweethearts, on their first date alone. They drove to a popular spot where teenagers went to talk, away from parents and watchful eyes. They weren't the only ones there that night. 11:15 p.m. David's station wagon sat alone at the Lake Herman Road turnout. The radio played softly. They were talking, laughing. Then another car approached. It pulled up behind them and stopped. At first, David and Betty Lou didn't think anything of it, maybe just another couple looking for a quiet spot, but the car didn't move. Minutes passed. Then a figure emerged from the vehicle and approached. What happened next, investigators would piece together from the crime scene. The killer walked to the passenger's side. He may have knocked on the window or simply appeared. Betty Lou panicked and fled from the car. David tried to follow. The killer fired. Betty Lou was shot 5 times in the back as she ran. She fell just 28 feet from the car. David made it to the driver's side before a bullet struck him in the head. He collapsed against the rear wheel. They were found minutes later by another couple. David died instantly. Betty Lou died at the hospital. 6 months of silence. Then July 4th, 1969. Blue Rock Springs Park, just 2 miles from the first attack. Another couple, another isolated parking area, another ambush. Darlene Farron, 22, Michael Vallejo, 19. They sat talking in her car around midnight when a vehicle pulled into the lot. It circled them once slowly. Then left. Darlene seemed nervous. She told Michael she recognized the car. 10 minutes later, it returned. The car parked directly beside them. A man got out holding what looked like a flashlight. Michael thought it was a police officer. Then the flashlight erupted in gunfire. 9 shots fired at point-blank range. Darlene was hit 5 times, Michael 7. The killer walked back to his car, started the engine. But before he left, he did something chilling. He returned and fired 2 more rounds into each victim. Then he drove away into the darkness. This time, Michael survived, and he would become the only person to see the Zodiac killer's face and live to tell about it. 3 weeks later, 3 Bay Area newspapers received identical letters. Each contained 1/3 of a coded cipher, and each contained a confession. "I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." The writer demanded the ciphers be printed on the front page. If they weren't, he wrote, he would go on a killing spree. He provided details only the killer could know. The position of the bodies, the number of shots, the timing. Police knew it was real. 1 week later, another letter arrived. This one was signed with a symbol, a circle with a cross through it, and a name. Quote, "This is the Zodiac speaking." Over the next 5 years, the Zodiac killer would claim responsibility for at least 7 attacks. 5 confirmed dead, 2 survivors, but he claimed 37 victims in his letters. The ciphers continued. The taunts grew bolder. He sent pieces of blood-stained clothing, threats to shoot children, coded messages that have never been fully solved. Then in 1974, the letters stopped. The Zodiac vanished as mysteriously as he appeared, but his first victims, David and Betty Lou on that cold December night, started it all. 56 years later, the Zodiac killer has never been caught. The FBI closed the case in 2021. But the mystery endures. Who was he? Why did he stop? And most haunting of all, did he really have 37 victims? Or was it just another game from a killer who loved to terrify? Text on screen. The Zodiac Killer Unsolved.